Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Leaders. Today, we're joined by Farah Ahmad. She is the co-founder and CEO of PatientX. Interested to hear the story. Let's get right into it, Farah. So, I am going to turn the microphone and camera right over to you. I
Mhm.
want you to tell your story. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got to be involved with PatientX. What is PatientX? And what do you guys do? How well you do it? Who you do it for? Yeah, tell us your story.
Sure. So thank you, first of all, Scott, for having me as a guest on your podcast. So my name is Farah Ahmad. I'm the co-founder and CEO, as you mentioned, of PatientX. And I've been in the life sciences industry for about 25 years. I started right out of school as a chemist and really kind of enjoyed learning about how I would apply my science degree in the
Hmm.
real world. But soon got a little bit, I found it a little redundant, right? You're kind of doing the same thing over and over and over as a junior chemist. And I wanted to understand, well, what is this all about? Like, what happens to my results and what does my company actually do? So I started to explore further and really became interested in more of the business side. And I started to excel on the management of clients in the lab, and soon was given an opportunity to move into a business development role. And the rest is really history. So I really pursued growth in my career in business development and strategy roles. I did an MBA and really stuck my finger into entrepreneurship, several times. Having my parents had small businesses as well, and really became interested in business, in how you can essentially apply it to any industry.
Yeah.
So I did continue in life sciences. I did a number of different things in life sciences. So most of my career was spent in what we call the CRO industry, or the clinical research organization. So we were conducting clinical trials and various services for pharma and biotech companies. So I was selling into these companies these clinical type services. I did that for about 17 years. Spent most of my time at a company called Syneos Health, and the predecessors on the inventive health side. Um, did a lot of traveling, got to see a lot of the world, understand the industry, and I always had my strategy hat on in terms of how I could uh, perceive trends that were happening in the market, and then really coach my leadership internally as to what we should be focusing on and how we should execute to optimize our profitability, optimize our growth. And that took me into another role where I was a chief commercial officer of a SaaS clinical study budgeting company. That was a really interesting place to be, employee number one of a startup company, working for kind of a really interesting product, probably one of the most fantastic products I had seen, but really kind of a novel thing that was difficult to position, and there was not like a precedent for buying this type of solution.
Yeah.
And kind of over COVID, really interesting to be at a startup over COVID. So after a few years, I said, "Hey, let's get back to like my background and maybe do something a little different." I was recruited to be the president of life sciences at a company called Press Ganey, which is the largest patient experience measurement company in the world. And in that role, they kind of told me, "Hey, we don't really know, what to do in life sciences. We're a healthcare company. We have, these kind of small areas that we're pursuing. We want to scale this business. Like, what should we do?" And it really allowed me to look at that blank slate and say, okay, if I had to start a business, what would I do?
Yeah.
Um, and understanding at the time that there was this measurement system that I was not aware of. I'm a Canadian. We have public health care, so this is not a critical component of our healthcare system. But in the U.S., where I have always worked for U.S. based companies, This has been in place for 40 years, and it's a well-established mechanism to provide feedback to both payers and healthcare systems around, optimizing the patient experience to retain the patient to the business, retain the patient to the healthcare system. So I thought, well, hey, if we could do this using this data in healthcare, and it's been proven and it's accepted by regulators, maybe we could do this in clinical trials where I'm from, to retain the
Oh,
patient.
wow.
To clinical
Okay.
trials where it's actually a mega pain point, about a 30% dropout rate in clinical research, and it costs about $40,000 a day for every day that the trial is delayed. So quite a cost, about a $12 billion cost to the industry is the dropout problem. So that's what essentially enabled me to start this idea and eventually move this. I was soon addressed with the healthcare lack of interest in the clinical trial field, which we see over and over. And so I kind of found myself starting from scratch and with a new opportunity and thinking, well, what should I do?
Yeah.
Had so many of my let's say counterparts in the industry being like, Farah, we wanted to buy this from you. Like, what's going on with it? And I thought about it for a while and I said, well, hey, patients in life sciences and clinical research, we owe them this type of solution. We owe them a way to listen to their voices and have them be an integral part of the data that we use to actually assess the performance of the clinical trial ecosystem. And so I decided, well, somebody's got to do this. Might as well be me.
Hmm.
So I started PatientX, recruited some really intelligent people, and here we are about a year and a half into that journey.
I love the idea that you've taken a passion, or maybe not a passion, but an
Mhm.
experience that's brought wisdom for you and identified, okay, I have an opportunity, I have something that's viable. And then there's a solution that's needed in a very specific space that I know. Let's build this. And through
Right.
building it and surrounding yourself with the right people, as you said, now you have a business that's 18 months in, it's viable and it's doing well because you've matched your experience, your background to the necessity that you saw because of what you knew for how many years of doing this stuff. That is probably what every business owner thinks they're doing, right? When they start their small business, that's what everybody thinks. So what's been the most vital part of this process for you in that you're able to be successful doing it? Because there's a lot of people that think this is the right way to go and they just
Yeah.
can't make that connection. So what is it that's made it work for you guys?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that it's worked so far. Like, we are still very young, and there's still lots of risk in this business. I'll be honest, but I think it is the right thing at the right time. And I chose this path. Yes, I love science. I'll be honest. I love the idea of what we're doing in life sciences, and we're bringing medicines to patients that need it. But above all that, I probably am more of a business strategist, a business person. And when I look at this, I'm like, this is a very scalable, very natural business that is missing in this industry. So
Okay.
purely a business standpoint and a strategy and a market assessment standpoint, there's a gap, and this fills the
Yeah.
gap. It's the kind of the right thing at the right time, looking at the regulations, looking at the sentiment, and providing a unique way to solve these age-old problems. So that is, I think, one key is really believing in the business, and not necessarily because you love it. If I would choose a business to pursue that I love to the point of it being, my absolute passion, I probably would pick something in sports, to be real. But the
Oh.
fact is, I must admit, this is a brilliant thing to do, and the industry needs it, and patients need it, and that's really what was driving our commitment. So how do we make it work? Well, firstly, I think some of the major, most influential items have been a team that you assemble that has the equal passion, but also the skill. So in
Yeah.
our
Okay.
case, my two co-founders have extensive experience in doing this and extensive networks. So, I have 25 years, my COO has 30 years in the industry. My chief scientific officer has 20 years in patient experience, and we are very complementary. There's not a lot of
Okay.
people think there's a little bit of friction amongst the leadership team, but we complement each other very well in terms of our skill set and our capabilities and our mindset. And we are convinced, we demonstrate on a daily basis that there is an appetite for this solution in the market, and for that reason, we are committed to it. So that is one thing. The other thing is the engagement from the market itself, and the influencers we've been able to, let's say, get behind this idea. And
Yeah.
so, when you talk about those, sayings that when people are successful, there really is like a village behind them, and it's true. It's absolutely
Yeah.
true. You, even in your personal life, your friends and family are so important to supporting you and your well-being. Likely, I view that as a very close parallel in a business standpoint, the industry standpoint. We are fortunate to have some, very credible and highly visible supporters that
Yeah.
have raised their hands and say, we want to buy this, the industry needs this, and we stand, behind PatientX. We want to be part of your advisory board, and we're willing to, take a risk with a startup company because this solution is so needed.
Well, that's the key, right?
Mhm.
Getting a solution that makes sense for people.
That's
One
right.
of the things that I wanted to just touch back on, the team, and you made comment that you're very complimentary. And I,
Yes.
I want to make sure the audience understands there's a difference between getting along because you complement each other and getting along because a bunch of yes people are in the same room with each other.
Yes.
So when you say people are aligned to the vision, the mission, the overall culture of what your organization is, it doesn't mean you all see things the same way. What it means is we're all here for the right reason. We all believe in our vision. We all see our mission through, and culturally, we like the people we work with because, to your point, you're complementary, but you're
Mhm.
not doing it to be challenging. You're doing it to push. And there's a big difference there.
Yes.
And I think when it comes to people on a team, it's one of
Mhm.
the biggest assets that a company has. And it's one of the most overlooked elements of business does not pay attention to when things aren't going well. So I want to compliment you for having the wherewithal to pick somebody or pick partners that see things along the same alignment that you do, but don't see things necessarily the same exact way you do, because that's how you get an
Absolutely.
opportunity for dialogue, right? You get an opportunity to take a little bit of risk with a foundation of understanding, but you get a chance to see things differently. And
Yes.
when it comes to a good team perspective is one of the most incredible things that you can have in a meeting. Well, that's a good idea, but have we tried it this way?
Right.
Or I don't know if that necessarily makes sense to me. Could you explain it better? And
Yeah.
before you know it, you're explaining something that you thought was trivial or everybody knows this, but if they don't have the background and experience you do, they won't see it that way. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to talk to each other in a way that you normally wouldn't. So I give you credit for that. And I love the other comment about the engagement with the market. You find people that like what you're doing and keep asking them to give you feedback. That's a key point.
Yes.
Is there something else? I didn't want to cut you off, but were there
No,
three
I
or
think
four?
those are, I would say, the two main items. But just if I can piggyback a little bit on what you said from a
Please.
team. So, certainly one of the areas that I have excelled in my leadership in my career has been leading professional sales teams. And there's often a lot of egos in the room when you're doing
No.
it,
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me there's salespeople that have egos?
right?
No.
Absolutely. And I went through a training at one point where it was a leadership training, and they had you write down on a little piece of paper, what's the one thing that you do as a leader that allows you to be successful, that's unique to you.
Sure.
And recently found that piece of paper, and I'll never forget what I wrote is, I can succeed because, and I can succeed as a leader because I can motivate people
Yeah.
and
Okay.
teams. And that's really, it really is important, especially when you're at a startup and especially when times are tough, right? So,
Yes.
I always would challenge my teams. And again, going to like a sports analogy, who's the most important person on the team? Let's say you're talking soccer. Who's the most important person on the team?
Hmm.
The keeper, the sweeper, the striker, And actually, there is everybody's role is important, and that's the answer.
Yes.
Everyone's role is equally important. And if you don't have a team that is strong and balance each other's weaknesses, you're going to have a blind spot, and
Hmm.
the opponent is going to take advantage of that. So I think it's one thing to lead a sales team. Definitely, that becomes even more important in the founder team, in the C-suite, that you
Yeah.
understand that people have strengths and weaknesses. And absolutely, you don't want everyone agreeing, right? You want an aligned vision, you want an aligned
Yeah.
passion, but really, folks are in their different roles because they have complementary expertise, and there's something that brings them together and allows you to move forward. So, I will say that I did select these two co-founders because of their expertise, and yeah, we
Yeah.
like each other, we worked together before, but it's tricky, right? There's challenges that you come across and you're like, I would not have done it this way. I would not have done it this way. This person's comments are irritating me, but you just got to realize that this is why you put this team together, and you have to
Yeah.
find that common ground. And sometimes you need to poke the bear, to get
Yeah.
the best outcome of the team.
You're right in that poking the bear isn't done to piss people off. It's done to solicit information, right?
Yeah.
And if you're doing it the right way, it'll be received in that fashion and not taken as, oh my God, you're insulting me because you don't believe in what I'm saying. There's a lot of science in being a leader, but there's a lot of art as well, right?
Yes,
I've
absolutely.
always described a leader is somebody who takes a group of people in a direction they never thought possible and motivates them to do so. To me, that's what a leader does, right?
Right.
A manager is very different. Manager manages a process, and the people managing that they're working that process. That's fine. But a leader takes people in a direction they never thought possible and motivates them to do it. That is what leadership is. Now, if that leader needs three or four people to help them, if all three or four of those people look like, walk like, talk like exactly the way you do, you're not leading anybody. You're just having a bunch of lemmings following you around, right? So the art of being a leader is finding the science behind each person and their context and
Yeah.
what they can contribute. So Farah, this is an amazing conversation about getting the right people on the bus. There's always that old adage, do you have the right people on the bus? And then it's, do you have the right people on the bus sitting in the right seat?
That's
And
right.
now it's gotten to the point where, are they the right people? Are they sitting in the right seats? And are they willing to do what's necessary for the business?
Yes.
You could have an unbelievably talented person that has
Yeah.
no interest in being a part of the business.
Yeah.
So there's so many different waterfalls or cascades around the original thoughts of hiring the right people and how do you lead them. Now it's all about the vision, the mission. How do you get people on board with you? And what I find interesting and what I like to do is teach people when you have a really good vision and a mission that resonates with people and a culture that draws people in, you'll get people that want to work with you. And
Yes.
the nice side effect, Farah, what you realize is there's businesses that want to work with you because of who you are, because
Mhm.
of what you stand for and what your values are. And that's a little bit more intriguing than your product or service, which is amazing on its own right. But this is a conversation about leadership, and this is a conversation about getting people to buy in to what you're trying to sell. And it's not product related. It's all about the value and
Yep.
the commit, the culture and what you bring to the table. Again, the products, goods, or services that I'm not trying to diminish them because they're good, but it's who you are as a company. That's why people want to work with you. And
It's true.
that's why I love these conversations.
Mhm.
When you're putting this together, what has been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge has been, I would say, I'm going to kind of describe one thing, and tie it to something else.
Okay.
So I'm a naturally optimistic person. Um,
Okay.
it is part of my character to be see the glass, half full type of person.
Absolutely.
Uh, we, as part of PatientX, we've had to do fundraising. And I have contributed to fundraising before. I've never led a round. Neither have my two co-founders. So it was quite interesting for us to
Hmm.
learn this and to understand and comprehend the extent of effort it would actually take.
Hmm.
Um, and the number of rejections we would get. And that is really tied and has challenged at times my undying optimism.
Okay.
And so really kind of being focused on the belief and hanging on to that belief that, this
Hmm.
will work. And I believe in this company and I believe in our solution and I believe in our founder team. And, regardless of what feedback we get from, what individual,
You're funny.
we are just going to keep on this path and strive forward and pivot as we need to pivot. So really that ability to wake up every morning and be like, I got this, just keep doing it. It's going to happen. Keep your
Okay.
head down, keep putting in the work, right? It's going to happen. That's been challenging. And I think the way we've addressed, or way I personally have addressed that, has been in some way to go back to my comfort zone, which is sales, right?
Yeah.
This, I know that there are customers for our solution, and you know what?
Hmm.
I'm just going to focus on this piece, and that's what demonstrates the success of this solution. So that's the first thing. The second thing has been to really create smaller goals that are achievable,
Mm.
and that you can celebrate, and feel that, hey, this is going in the right direction. And at some point, actually pause and look at all the accomplishments you've done. Okay, so we didn't get that grant. Okay, so we didn't get that, we didn't oversubscribe the round. Fine, but look at all the other things we've done.
Hmm.
And that's astounding. We have really taken this forward in the last X amount of time. So I
I
think
love
it's
that.
it's really important, not only as a leader, but as an entrepreneur, to be able to pivot, but to be able to get yourself really focused and be your own best cheerleader, right? And not to the
Yes.
point that it's ridiculous.
No,
You want
I
to see
think
the
you're,
forest for the trees, but you do need to recognize that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And a lot
hmm.
of the investors and that they're expecting these things that are gonna, you know, go from zero to 300x like overnight. That does not serve anybody but the investor. so so
Yes,
this
because they want their money. They want it fast.
that's it. So I have like pulled myself back a few times and talked to my leadership team to say, we're in this for the solution, for the sustainability, for the
Yeah.
long haul, and for the patients. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And we're doing the right things. And this is why we know, because we've been able to accomplish all of these beautiful things.
I love this. And here's something that we learned during actually, it was a professional and personal development program I went through. And they're always talking about what's your goal? What's your goal? What's your goal? And what they established was in the context of sales, they said, if your goal is 100, why not set it to 150? Hear me out. Because if
Yes.
I set my goal to 150 and I accomplish and I get to 125, I didn't reach my goal. But instead of focusing on the gap between 125 and 50, look at the gap between 125 and 100, what my original goal was. So
Yep.
let's not focus so much on what we missed, but every once in a while, stop, take a look over your shoulder and say, look how far we've come. Look what we've accomplished in this short period of time.
Right.
Originally, we only wanted 100, but we actually went and stretched ourselves to 150. We got to 125. We should be incredibly happy right now because we
Yep.
overachieved our original thought, but we
Yep.
pushed ourselves.
Yeah,
And I love the idea that you say we're here for the solution, the longevity, and for the patient. That's what you're here for. And that's the kind of attitude that'll keep you going. Because
mhm.
instead of falling down and saying, well, we didn't make it, therefore we must end this opportunity to be
That's
great,
right.
you keep going because you have that end point in mind. And I want to say thank you for that because it's a really good lesson for people to learn.
Mhm.
You won't believe it, but it's been 30 minutes.
It's been
It
30
goes,
minutes.
yeah, it goes by so fast.
Well, I'll give you a little trick just on that sales
Please.
example. You know, salespeople are very focused on the number, right? My
Yep.
background is really kind of it. I eat, breathe, and live it, right? Um, One trick instead of changing your goal is change your coverage of the goal. So
Okay.
I always, when I run these teams, I always try to 3x, at minimal 3x my goal with my pipeline so that I can fail, fail, fail. I can leave room
Yeah.
for failure because nothing's going to be a perfect execution,
There
right?
you
So you
go.
want to build in the failure, the space for failure that you can learn from, and you have
Love
sufficient
that.
coverage to actually hit the goal.
You're covering your bases by over establishing a goal, but then
Over,
reaching out for getting it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. It's
Mhm.
exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
All right. Final question. We've got a couple minutes. If I
That
were to put
flew
you in a, if
by.
I were,
Go ahead.
what's that?
The time flew.
I know it absolutely flies every time. If I put you in a time machine and send you back and you get a chance to meet 18-year-old Farah,
Oh God.
you two sit on a park bench, what's that conversation sound like?
Yes, I probably would have more coaching on the personal side than on the business side, but we'll keep it professional here for the podcast. I would definitely encourage Farah to 18-year-old Farah to have the confidence to drive forward with crazy ideas,
Okay.
and do so in a way that perhaps breaks those ideas up into more realistic, manageable pieces and
Okay.
steps, right? Uh, in order to get to where you're going. So focusing on the end goal, but rather than using a dart, right? You're going to step there with, I don't know, a proper what would be the alternative to a dart, but
A
maybe
shotgun,
I
more
guess
of a
that's
dispersion.
maybe a dispersion, but basically, it's okay, right? It's okay to take several steps to
Yeah.
get to the goal, as opposed to taking the leap that might be
Okay.
more disruptive in your life, right? And more difficult to attain.
I like
So
that.
I would tell 18-year-old Farah to listen to the inner voice, to follow the passion, to pursue the goal, to maybe put some of these other, certainly life goals that women feel very, let's say, pressured to realize, put them a little bit on the side because it's not the end of the world. You can come back to things later on, and really kind of take advantage of that the burning fire that you have to drive in a certain direction, because that is what is beautiful about being young.
I love that. Beautiful about being young.
Yes.
Plenty of room, plenty of runway to make a mistake, right? Plenty of runway to make a mistake.
That's
Farrah,
right.
I want to thank you for being on the program. Amazing conversation. Lots of great lessons, I believe the audience pulled out of this, or at least they should. So, all the information to get in touch with Farrah and Patient X will be down in the description below. And I want to thank you. We'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.